Hello everyone, my name is Suwarna and I am doing this video presentation for my large software scale development course ECE 4574 for assignment 7. I am currently in team 5 as a member of the server API team. So for assignment 7, I created these 4 functions/methods. The first one is a post method for deleting a device. Second one is the post method for deleting a house. The other one is post method for posting an updated state from app, so it can be both simulated which the app would get from the sim harness team, or it could be the actual post update from the app using their interface. And the last one that I implemented was a post method for getting unregistered devices from the house and sending it back to the app. Before going into the actual code, I'll just give you a high overview of what each methods do and how they are tested. So basically for the delete device, it allows the app team to delete a device provided its space ID, house ID, and the device ID. So for unit testing, what we do is first I post a house to the storage and retrieve the house ID. Then I post a room to the storage and retrieve the room ID. And after that, to that house and room, I would post a new device to the storage. After it's stored, I try to delete a device that is not in the house and see what I get back. And similarly, I would delete the actual device that is in the house and make sure that the total device remaining equals the total device after deleting a device. The second deliverable is the delete house method provided to the app team. So this method allows the user to delete a house by providing the house ID they want to delete. So in order to do a testing for this, we basically post a house to the storage and get the ID back, and we try to delete the house from the storage and make sure that the house no longer exists. So deliverable number 3 is the post update state for the app team. So this method will allow the user to post the updated state of the device. So if the user wants to update the state of a device, they will call this method, and in turn this method would update the device in the house and in the persistent storage. It will also send information to the decision team who can start their algorithm. So for the unit testing, we would first start with saving the house with its URL, and we would add a couple of devices in the house in storage. We would then start the house locally or remotely with some devices already instantiated in it. And then the testing would try to update one of the device which is located in the house, and it would check back to see if the device is updated or not. And deliverable number 4 is the ability to request unregistered devices by the device team, which is located in the app. So this will allow the device team to request the list of unregistered devices in the house by comparing the devices in the persistent storage. It will return an array of unregistered devices. So for the testing of this, we would spawn the house with 3 devices instantiated in it. We would then add 1 device to the persistent storage directly. After that, it would do a post request to get an unregistered devices. Then it would compare the device in the house to the ones located in the storage. After that, it would just return the list of unregistered devices, and the testing would make sure that the device count that is returned is 2. After this brief overview, now let's actually look at the code implementation. So here you can see the routing for delete device. So the user would basically go to device, give the house ID, the space ID, and the device ID. After that, it would come to this routing, and it would go inside a function. So basically what we do in this is we basically create a web request with the location of the storage URL, give its house ID, space ID, and the device ID, and ask for them to delete it. And if there is some errors, then this will throw the errors, otherwise it will return true. Notice that we have 2 methods. There is a if debug. So if the program is in debug mode, then it would basically just return true. If it is in release mode, then it would do all this. So the function of debug mode is to make sure that we get the request we get the request that the user is trying to send, and the error that they are receiving is from the persistent storage and not from us. The second delete device is delete house, which you can see here. This is the routing, basically house slash its ID. Similar to delete device, it would basically request for a delete in storage URL with the house ID provided, and the implementation is pretty much the same as delete device. Now let's take a look at updating device via the app. As mentioned before, there are two methods to update the device, one from the simulation and one via the actual app interface. Both of them have pretty much the same implementation, so let's just take a look at one of them right now. This is the routing for updating device simulation. Let's go into the function call. So initially it creates the request to update the device information in the storage URL, which provided house ID, room ID, and device ID. If the update is not successful, then this will return an exception saying that either house ID, room ID, or either of those ID does not exist. If that is successful, then it queries to get house information from the persistent storage. We need house information so that we can get the house URL from persistent storage, so that we can send our update to the house as well. So once the house URL is received, it basically uses the device API function calls such as create device and update device to send this information to the house, which in turn will perform the action required. And if the house URL is not valid, then it will return false, otherwise it will return true. And the final method that I implemented was getting unregistered devices. This function call basically lists all the unregistered devices in the house. Initially, it requests for all the devices located in the house, either it's registered or unregistered. After that, it gets the list of devices that are stored in the persistent storage. So the devices that are stored in the persistent storage means that the device is registered. So after getting all the devices in the persistent storage, it basically compares the device ID of the two to make sure whether the device is registered or not. And if the ID does not match, then we add that device into this unregistered devices array, and at the end we return that array back to the team. Now let's take a look at the unit testing that are done. First of all, I'll just run all the tests. So while the tests are running, let's just look at one of the test delete house example. What we do here is we post a house, and then we get the house ID in here from the persistent storage. After that, we do a delete request to our server and make sure we get true back. And it's similar for delete device as well. Okay, the tests are test ran. As we can see here, the two tests failed, which are test enumerate devices and test simulated post, because these tests depend upon the house, and these tests cannot find the house anywhere, because it says unable to connect to the remote server because the house is nowhere to be found. So let's run the house locally in our computer. This is similar to running house via the sim harness. So now, since the house is running again, let's try to run this test one more time. Run selected test. So this one passed. So before I run the test simulated post, let's double confirm that the updated post device actually works. So let me go to Postman and get the list of devices from the house. Notice that it is currently false for the light one. So once we go to our test case, here you can see that we set the enable to true. So let's run the test case and see what happens. The test passed, or I talked to someone. Okay, yeah, the test passed. Now let's go here and try to get the same device again, and let's see. As you can notice, the enabled became true. So that means the test really passed and the house was updated as intended. That's all. So I'd like to thank you for your time. And if you have any question or if something was unclear, please contact me at suwarna7@vt.edu. Thank you again.